Hope here at Crafty Hope, and welcome. It is day 48 of the 100-day project and my hashtag not precious project, in which I am using items from my stash that have become so precious that I haven't been using them, and I'm trying to make them not precious. So I'm struggling a bit today. I went out and did a bunch of estate sale shopping and thrifting, and it is 3 o'clock and I don't have anything to do. I haven't finished my little shrine that I've been working on. It's not a shrine. My shadow box. I did spray seal it today, and that's something, but before I can really progress on it, I have to wait for that to dry, and it's going to take until tomorrow. So I think what I've decided to do is I looked in my bucket of things that I had originally pulled out, and I put a lot of the papers, like the ones I used in my altered board book and things like that, in this folder. And I think I'm just going to do a junk journal page today. So I've got this little junk journal open to spread here. And of course I'm going to start with collage. So, my legs are tired. I have been on my feet all day. So I'm just going to play in my junk journal, I think. And play I did, and it was exactly what I needed, because I'd spent so much on that assemblage, so much time and thought on that assemblage box that I was losing some of the joy of playing, that is art. And so it was really what my soul needed, was to take a break from some of the more structured things. And granted, I only had one more day left to do it. If you've already seen that assemblage box, you know there wasn't much left for the one day I skipped, but I needed that break. So this was perfect, and it made me step away and work in my art journal. I find that, I don't know, there's something about working in an art journal that's very freeing and exploratory and just really great for the soul. So that's, to me, what a junk journal or an art journal is an opportunity to get in there and play and experiment with different tools and techniques and materials. And yeah, I am using, as you can see, went ahead and used those very, to me, not precious papers. And I stuck those down first. These, I think I told you, were a bunch of different papers from my stash. A lot of them I'm looking at have been eco dyed or coffee dyed and that kind of thing, just altered papers, and they're not really going to matter in the end. You're not going to be able to see them a whole lot in the end of this, but that's okay. Now you can tell I am using a silicone spreader tool and some fluid medium. This is Liquitex Fluid Matte Medium, and I like that, especially with some of these papers, because they have like a heavier thickness, and that wetness gave them a lot of pliability. So I've got this one additional paper I'm going to add in a couple spots just to kind of, you can see that's, what do you call it, like typing paper that's super thin, and it did great to get in some of those areas that really were missing some texture. So I'm going to get these last couple pieces down, I think. I'm not sure. We're going to see. It has been a bit since I did this spread in this junk journal, and I'm trying to even think what those papers were. They were just general papers, I think, in my journal. I don't know. It's a good and chunky journal. I don't have but a few pages left in that one. I really ought to hop in, and I'm sitting here looking at it because I haven't worked in that particular journal since I did this this spread. So yeah, I ought to do that. And you can see that's bits and pieces of some deli paper, y'all, that I rust dyed, and I'm loving that I can add little bits of rust there that suddenly become transparent because I'm just putting down what I need in different places. I need a touch of something. Let's see, and this is, y'all, I've held that so precious. I've got a bunch of it. It is some Japanese washi, which means paper, with Japanese characters on it, and I love it. It's just, perfect little thing. All right, y'all, that is my water cup, but it has so much gesso in it that it's completely white, and I think I had used it on something, and it almost had an effect like a distress oxide, like that milky kind of look to things. And so I decided, let me put some of this milky water down and see what it does. And yeah, so I dripped that on there, and then I grabbed some acrylic ink. This is the Amsterdam acrylic ink. I think the color is neutral gray. I've got a couple, but I think this one's neutral, and I really like it. In fact, I think I've got 2 of this color because I caught it on clearance and forgot I had already bought it. So, and I'm just using these things to basically to neutralize the background. I put down all those luscious papers, but I wanted them to feel a little more cohesive and drawn together. So, yeah, I am going to use a paper towel there to push it back a touch and then dry everything super quick. Now, I had just gotten in the mail when this came in some of Nicole Watson's stencils from Stencil Girl, and this is the triangle leaf reflection stencil, and I thought it would be really fun to go ahead and play with it. So, and she just released here in the last couple weeks a couple more stencils that I am real tempted by too. So I will put a link below in the description box to Nicole's page, I guess, on the Stencil Girl site, so you can go check out her stencils, and I'll put a link to her Instagram as well, where you can find all of her links. Okay, so I have pulled out just white gesso there and a cosmetic sponge that I am going to stencil right on top of all of these things. Now, this to me was going to add some texture to the background, as well as again make these pages feel a little more cohesive and less disjointed. So that's kind of the idea of stenciling this, and I'm trying not to pick up too much of the gesso to put on there. Now, typically gesso is like a primer, not something that you're really supposed to like paint with. It's supposed to be like in the background and not a main focus of something. You would really need white paint, but I wanted something that gives a little texture as a little extra. Now, you see I taped down that stencil as well, simply because I didn't want it to move. And with the slope of that page on the left, because this little junk journal has become super chunky monkey, it was definitely not going to hold itself in place. So a little bit of washi taped to my under paper at that was all I needed. All right, so I did these stencils pretty much from one side of this journal spread to the other, so it just absolutely covers that whole spread. And you can see I'm thinking about this, trying to figure out what my next steps are, and I decided to pull in my instant coffee. Now, y'all, this is just regular instant coffee. I got it on Amazon, but you can get it at the grocery store just as easy. And I put it in this little yogurt cup, and it stays on my desk, and it will dry up, and then I reconstitute it with water. And I love to paint with this stuff. So if you've seen my other videos, you've probably seen me paint with the coffee, and I do love the smell of coffee. Now, if you don't like coffee, you could get something like a walnut ink or something. It just doesn't behave the same way as the instant coffee, because the instant coffee has I think it has binders in it, and it can be kind of sticky and clumpy sometimes, so it behaves a little bit differently than some of your inks will. So I'm just saying that, but if you don't like coffee, you could definitely try some other kind of ink. This is just, if you don't want to put foodstuffs in your journal, I totally get that. Let's see, more texture getting added here, and I'm using a blue Stabilo All pencil. I love this blue Stabilo All. I've been using it almost as much as I use my black one. Now, an all pencil is a water-soluble pencil, and it's called an all pencil because it writes on just about any surface. So you can, with an all pencil from Stabilo, you can write on glass or plastics or paper or wood or all kinds of stuff. And then it activates with water, so if you want to remove that, it can wipe away pretty easily. I even use it on fabric sometimes, y'all, but I don't anticipate ever having to wipe it away on a fabric, but it does write on fabric. All right, so I made some sketchy circles and activated those with water, and then I'm using my paintbrush there to just kind of, splatter some of that blue around on the page. And from there, I'm pulling in my favorite shade of Americana paint, and that is Sea Glass. So it's a pale, pale green, blue-green color that I like, and I'm putting it kind of watered downy around the outside of those circles that I have drawn. I've come to find that I really love this combination of this sea glass paint and that blue Stabilo. I've used it in a bunch of other things. We're currently in ICAD season, and that combination has already shown up at least once, I believe. So, it's just a thing that in circles too are definitely like a shape that I veer to. I encourage you to kind of do some mark making and see what kind of shapes your hand kind of goes to use over and over again. Circles for me, especially sketchy ones, tend to be something that really, I don't know, that's what my hand kind of wants to do, so I let it. All right, as you saw, I put that down. I used a lot of water in that paintbrush and kind of got that paint really bleedy. And you'll see that in the pictures I have at the end. So then I started sorting through some papers I have in that folder, and I think this one was in there. And it is, I think that these are photos that I think Tiffany Goff Smith had in a giveaway, or maybe something from the Ugly Art Club or something like that. And I had them printed out and then threw them in a coffee bath, which, y'all, seriously, I had some leftover coffee and probably just tossed it in I used the wash tubs, the cheap plastic wash tubs, and I will put a little bit of coffee in it and throw papers in it from time to time. So I tore down that coffee dyed image of it looks like a family in front of a car or something, and I inked the edges of it with some walnut stained distress ink. And y'all, look, that is my snippet roll that I just made. I had no idea when I started this spread that I would already be pulling in that snippet roll. But I'm glad that I did. It helps me keep it from being too precious also. So I am going to ink the edges of it because, well, where I trimmed it, you see the raw paper, and I want all of this to feel so yummy and grungy. So yeah, it's getting some of that distress ink in what I say walnut stain itself, and I'm basically gonna just use that piece of the snippet roll as a backer for this. And I think that's part of the reason I really love this little piece, because I done the X's to add the fabric or over the fabric on the edge of that, and y'all, it's perfect. It's probably my favorite thing on this page are the little X's that are on the edge of that snippet roll, and just stitches, simple stitches. And I did futz a bit moving that around, trying to decide where the placement is going to be. You can see I'm like, oh. And I kept this in. I started to edit it down, but I wanted y'all to see, sometimes it takes me a minute to think, to decide if it's going to work. I have no idea what I was thinking, because this was months ago that I did day 48 of the 100-day project. Now I'm going to use an Uhu glue stick to go ahead and stick that photo down. Again, that was just a copy or printout, so that's just some thin copy paper, so that Uhu works fine to stick it down. I keep looking at it, trying to decide if it needs something else before I stick it in my journal. I've decided that the edge is too straight, and so I need to tear it down, and I will ink it because I have exposed that edge again of that paper, and that feels so much better there. I mean, like I said, I'm looking at this spread right now, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's definitely needed that. And I think I'm going to try to tear a little bit off the top as well, because once I have one torn edge, of course they all need to be torn. I'm not so concerned about the fabric side, because it's already torn down, or what it's fraying is what it is. So I'll ink all of that as well. at some point finally deciding to stick it down. I'll probably throw my hands up. Nope, I went to go find a sentiment. I've got a little zippered bag full of chip quotes and other wordy things, and right there I find the words "focus on the good." And I thought that was kind of neat, since I had made the edges of those circles kind of blurry and out of focus, and that photo itself isn't out of focus, but it's definitely more in focus than like those little circles that are on there. Now, it was super white. Nothing else on this page is that super white. Maybe the stencils I did, but it's kind of a different white. So I did ink the edges of that chip quote, and then I'm using, I did tear the back of that chip quote down to make it less heavy, because this book is very chunky, but it's still fairly heavy. So I did use the Fabri-Tac to stick down the word, and I will do the same thing with the focal, with that snippet roll and all of that. You just, yeah, I almost stuck it down upside down. Y'all, how upset would I have been if that was stuck upside down? That would be just par for the course. My gosh. So we're coming to the end of this, and what I end up deciding to do is to add a little bit of sparkle in here. I'm going to use a Uniball Signo gold gel pen to scribble around my sentiment and then around the inside the photo, so like just on that copy paper portion. And that to me kind of brings those two together, brings the sentiment together with the focal, so they don't feel so disjointed being on two different pages. So, and that's going to be about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm sorry it's taking so long to get some of these 100-day project videos out to you, but they're still relevant. Yeah. They're still good videos with lots of interesting little tips and techniques I've got. So if you have any questions, let me know. Here's a few looks at this completed journal spread, and I will see y'all later with more iCads and other 100-day projects and whatever else I've got going over here at my corner of the crafty world. I will see y'all then. Bye.